Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the Saiyan warrior who destroys all int LR Broly. We're going to see just how good he is in Dokkan at 55% in the hidden potential system. Now, of course, just to kind of preface it, Broly is a very interesting character. I think he brings pretty much everything people wanted to the team. But I think now in the current meta and just looking at units, I think a lot of people are kind of comparing his numbers to the others and feeling like they're a bit lower without dupes, which I think is like okay, considering how much support he brings. But yeah. Anyway, Broly is an uncontrollable power, revenge or planetary destruction lead of key +3 HP attack and defense of 170%. He gets an additional HP attack and defense of 30% for characters who belong to movie bosses, transformation boost or pure sans. So obviously uncontrollable power is the new category and it's not too bad. I think overall it's actually not a bad leader skill that Broly has. Like I think he's got a pretty decent one here. So yeah, anyway, on top of that, let's talk. He massively raises his attack and defense on both his 12 and 18 key, with a high chance of further raising his attack, which is very, very interesting. And he has a great chance of stunning and a high chance of stunning appropriately on each of his super attacks. In terms of passive, it's a doozy, but he activates his entrance animation, and for the first 4 turns from the start of battle, will have a 40% support for extreme class category allies, which is pretty decent. He will also have attack and defense of 260%, as well as also having the 60% damage reduction, which is pretty good. He gets 100% extra attack when attacking, which is solid, and he also gets, of course, 2 key and 2% HP recovery per type key sphere obtained. While his domain is active, he will randomly change key spheres of a certain type to the strength type key spheres, and he will guard all attacks. His attacks are effective against all types for the remainder of battle after he hits his very first attack, and then starting from the 5th turn he will be able to revive and be KO'd, which is pretty cool. So he will activate a revival mechanism, which is solid. And then, of course, from that point onwards, the moment he gets hit, he gets 60% additional defense. And then, of course, he then changes key spheres as well as becoming a 60% support. So the goal would be to run his domain, hit his domain, then when the domain finishes, revive him. Then upon revival, he becomes a 60% support and a bit tankier. I will say, I don't believe Broly is a first slot tank. Even with his domain active with the guard and everything, he can act as one with high dupes, but I think he's more a second slot unit. There's a reason why Tech Broly is a beautiful first slot unit, and it's because Tech Broly is going to mesh so well with Broly and everything that he does. So for me, I don't think you need to run Int Broly as a first slot unit. His domain is activated upon his active skill, which can be activated when there's a Goku's family enemy, or when all allies in the turn are uncontrollable power units, which isn't too bad. So right away, all looking pretty solid here. When his domain is active, uncontrollable power units will have 15% additional defense and increased damage received by superclass allies and enemies by 15%. And an additional 10% damage received by movie heroes. He has Saiyan Warrior Race, Prevail, Battle, Shocking Speed, Super Saiyan, Berserker, Fierce Battle, and Legendary Power as his link sets, and I think overall he's just a good unit. I don't really have much negative to say. I think if you compare the raw numbers, he doesn't look as impressive as the other units. Even the Super Saiyan Trio, he's probably comparable to there, but I think where they shine is they have that built-in additionals, and also their support is unconditional. So Broly's is decent for the beginning, but then you kind of have to navigate around getting his revive off and things like that, which I think distorts a little bit his impact on the team. For me, though, personally, I find that he is great. I think the way he boosts allies' numbers is awesome. I think for me as well, something I've got to be honest, I really think that he does amazingly, is he fills in all of the gaps that you need on that movie boss's planetary destruction extreme team. The support, the domain, everything all comes together just the way you need it to finish out that team. I do think as a second slot unit he's also perfect, great foil for the first slot Burly. The only thing I would say is a bit different and maybe a bit unfair if you want to call it that way, or definitely something that he's probably not as well off with as some of the other units, is the fact that the SS Trio provide a 2-turn support. And I think that's a big component of why people like the SS Trio so much. So I think like that 2-turn support that they do have is, impactful for sure. And I think like it's not something to be underestimated. So I definitely feel like the 2-turn support is probably where I'd say there's potentially a little bit of a difference between him as a unit and maybe like the SS Trio and things like that. Look, I think people who want to run him as a first slot tank, I don't think that's how he's meant to be run. I'm not a huge fan of it. I just don't think it's the way he's meant to be utilized. But to be honest with you, I do find that he is very, very good, and I don't know, I think he brings enough to the table that he's definitely a top unit. I think he's definitely a unit that benefits from dupes a lot more than other units do, and I think that's something that's quite obvious, especially because of the attack stat. I think defensively second slot he's more than fine. With all the domains and everything all coming together, I think, like from that perspective, he's definitely more than fine. I do think, like, outside of that though, there is a little bit of maybe like a requirement for dupes. I don't want to say requirement, but you can feel the impact that dupes have, especially with additionals and increasing his like attack stats, because that massively raising chance and everything all coming together with additionals and the way it affects his defense as well is huge. Obviously he links great with Tech Super Saiyan Broly. He links great with pretty much any of the Super Saiyan Brolys, so I think all of that's more than fine. And you've got plenty of partners now. You've got AGL Broly, you've got Tech Broly, you've got both Tech Brolys, technically speaking, if you know what I mean. So you really do have like the utmost necessary to kind of bring everything together. So yeah, I think from that perspective he's great linking partners, great synergy with the team. I would still probably run double Tech Broly and then just have Int Broly really supporting with like Turles, Broly Chilai Lemo. I think that's great. I think that's really, really good. I think that's going to bring everything together. But for me, that's basically it. Honestly, I think he's a great unit, and see you guys next time. Bye.